humanity has obviously a lot of issues, and you know, people at times do bad things, but you know, despite all that, you know, I love humanity, and I think we should make sure we do everything we can to have a good future and an exciting future, and one where that maximizes the happiness of the people. I was confident that at the time that we launched, that no one could think of anything at all to do that would improve the probability of success. And we racked our brains to think of any possible way to improve the probability of success. We could not think of anything more, and nor could NASA. And so then that's just the best that we could do. So then we went ahead and launched. Now, I'm not a religious person, but I nonetheless got on my knees and prayed for that mission.
Were you able to sleep?
No.
How did it feel when it was a success? First, when the launch was a success, and when they returned back home or back to Earth?
It was a great relief. Yeah. It's for high stress situations, I find it's not so much elation as relief. You know, I think once, as we got more comfortable and proved out the systems, because, you know, we really, you know, you got to make sure everything works. It was definitely a lot more enjoyable with the subsequent astronaut missions, and I thought the Inspiration mission was actually very inspiring. The Inspiration 4 mission. I'd encourage people to watch the Inspiration documentary on Netflix. It's actually really good, and it really is inspired. I was actually inspired by that, and I so that one I felt I was kind of able to enjoy the actual mission and not just be super stressed all the time.
So for people that somehow don't know, it's the all-civilian, first time all-civilian out to space, out to orbit.
Yeah, and it was I think the highest orbit that in, like, I don't know, 30 or 40 years or something. The only one that was higher was the one shuttle, a Hubble servicing mission. And then before that, it would have been Apollo in 72. It's pretty wild. So it's cool. It's good. You know, I think as you know, as a species, like, we want to be, you know, continuing to do better and reach higher ground, and like, I think it would be tragic, extremely tragic, if Apollo was the high watermark for humanity, you know, and that's as far as we ever got. And it's concerning that here we are, 49 years after the last mission to the moon, and so almost half a century, and we've not been back, and that's worrying. It's like, does that mean we've peaked as a civilization, or what? So, like, I think we got to get back to the moon and build a base there, you know, a science base. I think we could learn a lot about the nature of the universe if we have a proper science base on the moon. You know, like, we have a science base in Antarctica and, you know, many other parts of the world. And so that's, I think, the next big thing. We've got to have, like, a serious, like, moon base, and then get people to Mars and, you know, get out there and be a spacefaring civilization.
I'll ask you about some of those details, but since you're so busy with the hard engineering challenges of everything that's involved, are you still able to marvel at the magic of it all, of space travel, of every time the rocket goes up, especially when it's a crewed mission? Or are you just so overwhelmed with all the challenges that you have to solve? Yeah,
I mean, during the launches itself, so I mean, the thing I think maybe some people know, but a lot of people don't know, is, like, I'm actually the chief engineer of SpaceX. So, you know, I've signed off on pretty much all the design decisions, and, you know, so if there's something that goes wrong with that vehicle, it's fundamentally my fault, you know. So, so I'm really just thinking about all the things that, like, so when I see the rocket, I see all the things that could go wrong and the things that could be better, and the same with the Dragon spacecraft. It's like, other people will say, oh, this is a spacecraft or a rocket, and this looks really cool. I'm like, I've like a readout of, like, these are the risks, these are the problems. That's what I see. Like, So it's not what other people see when they see the product, you know.
So let me ask you then to analyze Starship in that same way. I know you'll talk about in more detail about Starship in the near future, perhaps.
We can talk about it now if you want.
But just in that same way, like you said, when you see a rocket, you see a sort of a list of risks. In that same way, you said that Starship is a really hard problem. So there's many ways I can ask this, but if you magically could solve one problem perfectly, one engineering problem perfectly, which one would it be?
On Starship?
On Starship. So is it maybe related to the efficiency, the engine, the weight of the different components, the complexity of various things, maybe the controls of the crazy thing has to do to land?
No, it's actually by far the biggest thing absorbing my time is engine production. Not the design of the engine. I've often said prototypes are easy, production is hard. So we have the most advanced rocket engine that's ever been designed. Because I say currently the best rocket engine ever is probably the RD-180 or RD-170. That's the Russian engine basically. And still, I think an engine should only count if it's gotten something to orbit. So our engine has not gotten anything to orbit yet, but it's the first engine that's actually better than the Russian RD engines, which were amazing design.
So you're talking about Raptor engine. What makes it amazing? What are the different aspects of it that make it like? What are you the most excited about if the whole thing works in terms of efficiency, all those kinds of things?
Well, the Raptor is a full flow staged combustion engine, and it's operating at a very high chamber pressure. So one of the key figures of merit, or perhaps the key figure of merit, is what is the chamber pressure at which the rocket engine can operate. That's the combustion chamber pressure. So Raptor is designed to operate at 300 bar, possibly maybe higher. That's 300 atmospheres. So the record right now for operational engine is the RD engine that I mentioned, the Russian RD, which is, I believe, around 267 bar. And the difficulty of the chamber pressure increases on a nonlinear basis. So 10% more chamber pressure is more like 50% more difficult. But that chamber pressure is that is what allows you to get a very high power density for the engine. So enabling a very high thrust to weight ratio and a very high specific impulse. So specific impulse is like a measure of the efficiency of a rocket engine. It's really the effective exhaust velocity of the gas coming out of the engine. With a very high chamber pressure, you can have a compact engine that nonetheless has a high expansion ratio, which is the ratio between the exit nozzle and the throat. So engines got, like, you see a rocket engine's got like sort of like a hourglass shape. It's like a chamber, and then it necks down, and then there's a nozzle, and the ratio of the exit diameter to the throat is the expansion ratio.
So why is it such a hard engine to manufacture at scale?
It's very complex.
So what does complexity mean here? There's a lot of components involved.
There's a lot of components and a lot of unique materials that so we had to invent several alloys that don't exist in order to make this engine work.
So it's a materials problem too.
It's a materials problem, and in a staged combustion, a full flow staged combustion, there are many feedback loops in the system. So basically you've got propellant and hot gas flowing simultaneously to so many different places on the engine, and they all have a recursive effect on each other. So you change one thing here, it has a recursive effect here. It changes something over there, and it's quite hard to control. There's a reason no one's made this before.